foliar feeding in particular. I took Ken's slide that he showed a little earlier and made a little adaptation to it. So he talked about applying MVP to supercharge the rhizosphere, and I changed that to say the foliar feed MVP to supercharge the rhizosphere. Now it's a little contrary, it seems. I'm going to spray something on the plant so the roots will do more, you know? How does that work? So try to explain that. So if we can spray a foliar on the plant, it's going to stimulate the plant, which actually then will put out new roots, new fine root hairs to stimulate some more root growth. It's not necessarily that all those organisms are going down through the plant into the roots, but it's stimulating a reaction in the plant, so it's going to put out some new roots. Then those plant roots are producing more exudates. They're giving off those secretions of those sticky substances that we were talking about earlier. Those exudates then feed the microbes. So that starts ramping up the microbe activity in the root zone, in the rhizosphere, and really gets them going again. What are the microbes going to do? They're going to cycle more nutrients out of the soil and move them into the roots. So sometimes we have a situation where our soil tests look great, we have all kinds of nutrients out there, we put everything it needs out there, yet the plant's kind of sitting there struggling and not really going. So what do we do to get more out of the soil? We actually foliar feed the plant. Then we can get more out of the soil. So kind of a different angle on it, but really believe that's the case when we can, if we get to a point in the summer and things are struggling and sitting there and not moving along as fast as we'd like to see, then let's give it a little something to get it going. And part of that is biology, is live microbes out there. Another type of organism that's been talked about a lot in recent years are endophytes. Those are microbes that live within the plant itself. And there's a number of products on the market now that are considered endophytes, organisms that will spray it on or put them on with your seed treatment or something, then they will move into the plant and live in the plant. They play a lot of different roles, but really the main thing is that it's helping that plant to access more nutrients, pull more nutrients out of the air, like nitrogen, as well as, again, talking about stimulating the roots, getting more things out of the ground at the same time. One that we've been working with the last couple of years is called Blue N. It's also known as Nutrition N at Corteva markets. I'll mention Derek Davis back here from Missouri. He's the one that kind of got us onto this a couple of years ago. And it's an endophyte. It's a nitrogen fixer specifically. And in their literature, they talk about fixing up to 40 units of N per acre, just what these organisms are doing within the plant. It's a simple thing, soluble powder you spray on at usually V4, V8 on corn or before flag leaf, small grains. But basically, once you have an actively growing plant out there, you can put on organisms, microbes, that then live in the plant and help it to fix nitrogen, to get the nitrogen it needs. Also being used on soybeans, dry beans, really all kinds of crops. This is an example from 2 years ago. Tom Biesecker here in Western Ohio did a trial on wheat and put the Blue N on, and there got 9 bushel on his wheat. I know a couple of other examples in oats where we saw like 15 bushel and 20 bushel. The small grains, this stuff really seems to be very consistent and very cost effective to do it. So highly recommend that you consider that as an option. And whether you're organic or conventional, hey, we still need the nitrogen, and maybe this can be an alternative to the number of gallons or pounds of commercial nitrogen that we're putting on. A lot of times in foliars, it's hard to see the difference. I went out and sprayed something, and yeah, okay, the corn looks okay, but how do I tell the difference? Well, if you leave a check strip of any kind, or have an area where you didn't foliar apply, actually get some of those plants and get some that you did and put them side by side. And then sometimes you can actually see a difference. Whether it's a little bit darker green, maybe whiter leaves. If you pulled off some leaves and laid them on top of each other, some might be whiter, bigger than others. in that, and just a healthier look to it. Has more photosynthesis going on, more chlorophyll, just a healthier plant. It's kind of what we're after. Derek Davis here in Missouri did this past year, doing the Blue N on soybeans. And here he had his check and did the Blue N, got 3 bushel out of that on beans. Then he did the Blue N plus K-sulfate in a molasses mix. And I think that's like a 3-to-1 ratio, right, Derek? 3 gallon K-sulfate to 1 gallon molasses type thing. So you can see, well, adding the bugs, adding the microbes, that was great, it helped some. But then we put that into part of a more complete mix with nutrition, with all the things like the molasses that feeds the organisms, and we just see that much more activity, and it works that much better. So that's one of the reasons we like to do kind of a balance of things in our foliar programs, not just any one given product, because as we all have learned, there's no true magic bullet of one thing that fixes everything for you, you know? It takes a program, it takes a whole package. Just a few pointers on foliar feeding, and really it's all saying that, as I said, we just don't want to use one single thing. We put things together, whether it's nutrients, whether it's particular micronutrients to address the deficiency, the biology, the biostimulants, like we were talking with Premium 21. We're excited this year to use the Connector O, that's a fulvic product that Early Bird has been using, molasses, fish, kind of all those things together. We like to add a penetrant to our foliars. So we've been using this Oroboost product that's citric based, and that's helping the mix go into the plant, into the leaf, without actually burning it. So we don't want to create a phytotoxic situation. We want something that's going to help it move into the leaf itself without harming that leaf, damaging that leaf, letting it go into there. And we found the Oroboost to be really good at that. We also, if the situation is needed and arises, like to put some natural pesticides in with our mixes, insecticide, fungicide, bactericide, any of those kinds of things, where we see the need for it, or as a preventative to anticipate something that's going to happen. We're going to hear in a couple minutes about some other products that work this same way. And to us, whether we're conventional or organic, well, Dan told the story on Tuesday, maybe not this morning, about how he learned that, okay, in weed control, you can try every herbicide known to man, and that doesn't always fix the problem, right? So sometimes it takes some other things, other approaches to get the job done. Well, we see the same thing with other insecticides, fungicides. As we've all seen, there isn't always a magic product out there that gets 100% control. So sometimes if we do a combination of things, we can have a better approach to it. And that includes both traditional chemistry and the conventional side, as well as some natural type products. Of course, if we're organic, then we work with the organic, the natural products, along with a good foliar. Sometimes that foliar that's stimulating that plant can do as much to help our problem, our situation, as what the actual other pesticidal products can do. Let's try to keep our plant healthy. Just an example in some soybeans of using an organic mix of fish, K-sulfate, micros, along with biology, and then it was 3 bushel better there. And you can see just how nicer the beans on the right look. Let's see, we got, well, on the right is the no foliar, and the left is with the foliar. And just have healthier beans. The ones on the right, you see some yellow leaves. They were dying off a little faster. This is a situation out in central Ohio, and this is a case of having a problem and then trying to go in and fix it, trying to correct it. So they had a lot of rain, middle of July, and then it started looking yellow and pukey and diseases were taking over, all that. So he calls his dealer and says, what do I do? He puts together a foliar combination, biology, the fish, the pesticides, the Oroboost, everything together. They foliar fed that. Then he went back in August and looked at it, and you'd been hard pressed to find out where those yellow beans were anymore. They aren't there anymore. Yeah, there's a few leaves at the bottom, but it outgrew that, it came back. And that ended up upper 40s in yield, which was organic food grade that, as Clint was saying, those really were worth 40 bucks a bushel at the time. So definitely worth saving. We showed this earlier a couple times about how that plant late in the season needs nutrients. And if we don't have it there available at the time that it needs it, then we're missing the boat. So there's a shot of corn. Also, when a plant gets late in the season, we want to keep it healthy so it matures and then dries down naturally, as opposed to dying off. And this is just a chart of, with corn, if your plant died here at like quarter milk line, this is the gray bar, and you would lose anywhere from 14 to 22% of your yield because of dying out early. If it died at half the milk line, then you're like 7 to 10% type thing. So we think that in the right situation, those late foliars can really pay off in helping that plant finish out. Clint mentioned this Agri-K Plus, it's potassium acetate. Especially in late foliars, we need something that's available fast, right? You can't wait around for the plant to get it. You need something that's available fast, and that's why we like the potassium acetate for a quick uptake. Of course, in the organic side, we use K-sulfate, potassium sulfate, and see good results from that as well. This is an organic field in Ohio, and I put this picture in here because there's this little thing right up here. So when we talk late foliars, a lot of times we say, well, I don't have a high enough clearance sprayer to go out there. I got to find a helicopter or an airplane, or what do I do? In this case, he had a neighbor that liked to play around with applying stuff with a drone, and he got them to do it with an organic mix. So we might think that's a little scary, but we pick things in on purpose that are pretty clean and easy to use. So the biology, K-sulfate, little boron, magnesium, and things like that. Kept it, simple and easy to use. And he went out there and sprayed that with the drone. And he didn't get, hard and fast yield numbers out of it. But he was at our meeting Tuesday and told us that he knew there was like another good 10 bushel out there from doing that late application, just of a couple gallons worth of stuff. So sometimes a little bit, just keep stimulating it, feeding it, and keep the thing healthy and let it finish out. I think the final slide I want to show you is on hay. And we really see in these perennial type crops, especially things we're going to feed, that if we're doing a good foliar program, it could really increase the quality of what we're then harvesting and then feeding to our livestock. So it's not just about yield, but it's about quality too. Ben Frieden, he's back toward the back. This was a plot he did a couple years back in northeast Iowa. So they sprayed on the hay May 25th, some biology and pillar, which is an organic mix, and then did a sample 6 days later, basically. Saw some increase in protein, RFV, RFQ, all that stuff. And then went back and tested again, June 11th, and saw actually a bigger difference in that. So it was making a difference in that plant in the both protein production as well as mineral content, which then translates into the feed quality, into the milk calculator, all that good stuff. And we're really seeing those perennial crops, it's kind of a gift that keeps on giving. If you do things to build up the health, with one cutting, well, that's going to help it come back better the next cutting and the next cutting, and go into the winter better, come back next spring stronger, and on type thing. So they really can pay for themselves by multiplying over and over. So just to summarize that, it takes a program to grow a great crop and put it all together. So we really want to stress it's not about, we heard a lot this morning about Premium 21 and how great that is. We can hear about other individual products, but what we're really all about at AgriEnergy is putting that whole thing together and what's going to work best in any given situation, and in particular, your situation. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to the guys from ProFarm.